Hope everybody's doing well. So I wanted to do a little wrap up of the archetypes today. And in doing that, so that you can have a clear understanding of what you've learned. You just learned some of the biggest, I say the biggest secrets, some of the best ways to access some of your most intentional success. And that's what this is about, intentional success. So let me get my notes here. Here they are. All right. So understanding that we talked about the sovereign, right? Your king or queen. That's your prefrontal cortex. That's your decision making, right? One of the things that happens when we go to make decisions is that we wind up in our default mode network because we don't have an intention, we don't have a vision, we don't have a mission, so we wind up scrolling. We wind up not doing the activities we know we need to do. There's not a single one of you that has a challenge with your next level of success. You've got every skill, you've got every talent, you've got every capability, you have the capacity. You're not out of time. You're not delayed by finances, right? Wallace D. Waddell says if you need finances, finances are available. You speak those into existence. The challenge is that because of the way we have this onslaught of information that comes to us through social media, through a variety of overwhelm, we wind up not making decisions. So understanding that we've now found out about our sovereign, right? We have both king and queen, a male dominant version or a female dominant version, and a male non-dominant or female non-dominant. Then we talked about our magician. We talked about our lover. We talked about our warrior. The majority of people operate from their warrior. Everything is a fight. And the warrior in the hippocampus in your brain is so exhausted. It's like, screw it. I don't want to fight anymore. So you just give up. And that, my friends, is not something I would encourage you to do. I would encourage you to find the way that this next battle is won without effort. It's simply made by a decision. It's made by having confidence. That's what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. I'm going to teach you the 5 areas where confidence exists and why you might be struggling with showing up as confident. Confidence is the ability to give somebody that feeling in their gut. I'm safe here. I know they know what they're doing. I can put some faith in them. I can trust them. And the reason people aren't doing business with you is because they don't have that feeling. It's a gut feeling. It's not your posture, although it is your posture. It's not your words, although it is your words. It's not your tone, although it is your tone. It's the combination of all of these things that gives somebody this feeling like there's just something good about that. Or there's just something's off. You all know this feeling. And when you're speaking about something that you have less than confidence in, there's no way you can exude confidence in what you're doing. So let's do a recap. So we talked about the warrior. The warrior is the one that is these core energies of the decisive boundary, the boundary setting protector. See, your warrior is the one who decides whether you scroll or not. And sometimes the warrior needs a break. And it's just so exhausting. It's like, this is the dumbest thing you're doing, but you know what? I'll let you do it. Because when you're finished scrolling, or you've now gone to bed and it's now an hour later where you've been scrolling, you're like, oh, this is so stupid. I'm not doing this tomorrow. That's because your warrior doesn't have any more fight left in him. You've learned to stand in the discomfort, the shift, the change, the transformation. You push past hesitation when you activate your empowered warrior, right? Execute with honor. Do things with honor and respect and love for yourself. The warrior will teach you, the warrior, when allowed, will teach you that discipline is the liberation that you need. You could get, listen, I promise you, you could do a month's worth of work in a week. We all could. And as you get more and more disciplined, you can still do a month's work in a week because you start saying no to a lot more and yes to the things that are your highest IPAs, income producing activities. And that's the only challenge we have, is that it's not that we're not busy. It's just we're not busy doing productive, profitable action, right? The warrior will teach you discipline when activated, when called upon, right? So let's just for a moment, where does your warrior live? Right? You found where your warrior lived. Go back to that energy. Where does your warrior live? What's the move your warrior makes? What's the sound your warrior makes? Right? You remember it? You find it? You feel it? You hear it? There's the sonic echo, the sonic encoding, the neuro encoding. So let's talk about the lover. This is the connector to self, right? Where does your lover live? Go find your lover. Where does your lover live? If you need to close your eyes, take a breath, find it, do it. And if you're struggling, remembering where he or she is, you might realize you're not practicing it. Every day we show up here, and I give you kind of some good information. It's so easy to not practice it. I would encourage you to practice it. So you find your lover, you reclaim this heart space. Now, wherever your lover lives, the chakra that it activates most is your heart. What did you discover with your lover activated? That vulnerability is okay. Knowing that your lover gets activated and that you can be vulnerable in nature. And it's okay to be vulnerable, knowing that you have your disciplined warrior activated. It's okay for you to put your heart on your sleeve, knowing that you're protected by your warrior, that regardless of what somebody says, it's not going to keep you from being you. See, if you become vulnerable and somebody goes, well, that's stupid, and you become offended by that, you haven't activated your warrior. You haven't allowed your warrior, your lover, your sovereign, your magician to all work in harmony. Epictetus said, for those of you with desire, put it on the shelf until you determine what's in your circle of influence and what's outside your circle of influence. Somebody making fun of you is outside your circle of influence. You can't adjust them. That's who they are. That's who they've become. You have to look at them with kind of a little tilted head like a puppy and go, oh, isn't that interesting? Because imagine if they said it in a language you didn't speak. Imagine if you may speak Klingon, I don't know, but imagine if they said it in Klingon. What? And you're like, I don't know what that means. The only way we get upset is by a response we have to information we're about to hear. If your lover is your true lover of self and understands the value you have to bring to the world and the lessons you can help people learn and the challenges you can help people avoid because of your vulnerability, it might be worth it to be able to stand in that space. And discovering real vulnerability is power. Real vulnerability is power. The lover showed you that presence, being present, creates impact. If you've ever seen a little child go up to their mommy and say, mommy, kiss the boo-boo, make the boo-boo better. And mommy, all she does is go, mwah. Being present. showing up in pure love can heal people. Then the magician, we talked about the magician, the transformer, the innovator, the seer. Through this archetype, you unlocked your inner alchemy. Alchemy is the ability to turn metals, lead into gold, right? Using imagination, language, and vision. The magician reminded you that your thoughts sculpt your reality. All right? That's the magician. Where does your magician live? Go find your magician. What's the move your magician would make? And if you're not doing these, if you're still taking notes or reading other emails, you're not even serious about you. And that's okay. I'm only responsible to you, not for you. But I can see those who are kind of disengaged in this, thinking, well, I've not heard of the archetypes before, so I'm not really going to pay attention to them, or I don't really understand them. Not paying attention now isn't going to help you understand them more. Not going to find the space, the energy, the place, well, this just seems silly. I can promise you, when some of the world's biggest teachers and trainers speak about this and use this as a key fundamental tool in helping build massive success for their community, okay, might not work for you. I doubt it. So the magician, find it. Find what's the sound your magician makes. I encourage you to give them names. You heard some of us talking in the Q&A sessions where we were talking about Terry or Mindy or all of these different people that you hear them saying, oh, well, that's so-and-so and that's such and such. We have these personalities. We have these identities. And like Tony Robbins says, first thing you do when you get a dog is what? You name it so that you own your archetypes. And then we talked about the sovereign. This is the authority of your life. This is the one who kind of oversees everything. They don't make all of the decisions because they have the vision for the kingdom. And everybody who's in the kingdom kind of knows this vision. You might call it your DMP, your definite major purpose. And when you have your definite major purpose, and that's what everything is done for, the magician works for that, the lover works for that, the warrior works for that, and the sovereign. Make sure everybody keeps that vision clear, and they make sure the vision is on target. You met the part of you who doesn't need permission, who owns their decision, right? Who governs with grace and clarity. You are the one you've been waiting for. That's your sovereign. Your sovereign is the one you've been waiting for, and that's already you. So here's some best practices for you to use from now until forever, whenever you choose, whatever you choose. It's not just to understand what happened. It's about how do you embody these energies. So here's some aligning practices. Each day when you wake up, you're probably going to need one particular archetype over the other. Now, maybe your day is kind of chaotic, and maybe in the morning you'd need your sovereign, in the afternoon you'd need your magician. Have that dialogue in the morning. See, if you don't know what energy you might need to be in throughout the day, then you're in reaction mode. You're not in reactive. You're not in action mode. You're in reactive mode. That shows up, you got to deal with it. Yeah, but you don't know my day. That doesn't matter your day. It really doesn't. If you don't decide what energy you're going to arrive in the day, if you don't, what do they say? If you don't rule the day will rule you. So which archetype do you need most? Use your brain talk with affirmations to activate that energy, right? I speak with truth and with clarity for compassion. and compassion. I speak with truth, clarity, and compassion. That's your sovereign, right? We went through those in the video. So one of the things is we have to understand the rewiring that goes in place. We covered a lot of content in 4 quick days. I would encourage you to write out some of your disbeliefs, some of the things, some of the ideas and thoughts that you currently have, and find out and ask yourself, what would be the positive impact my magician would say about this? What would be the positive impact my lover would say about this? Right? I breathe in love and exhale connection, lover. I act before I doubt. Napoleon Hill said that one of the major benefits, one of the supreme success factors, is that successful people act quickly, make decisions quickly, and are slow to change. There's a lot of people, well, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do this, and then make a decision, follow through on it, act on it, and be slow to change it. Because a lot of times, we're only one thought away from the breakthrough we need. And we do that proverbial story, stop 3 feet from goal, right? So observe how you're acting with these energies. Are you still acting out of the warrior? Am I too much of one archetype over the other? Where do I underexpress my energies? Where do I not use my sovereign enough? Where do I not stand up for me? Where do I keep using the same old solutions, the same old solutions, the same old solutions, expecting new results? It's not going to happen. What was I avoiding, and which archetype could have helped? When you start to look at some situations, what was I avoiding? Why did that not go the way I wanted to? What was I avoiding, and which archetype might have helped me better? When you start to use that philosophy, you'll be amazed at how often we have the solution. We just don't choose to use that energy. Because if we did use that energy and we did find that solution, it would change our identity. If there's things that you say, and going forward, if you say, oh my gosh, this always happens to me, you're not using an archetype that could make that shift. You're using an old energy that it always happens to you because that's the only solution possible from the use of that energy. Does that make sense? So if you create your circle with the 5 pillars in it, maybe faith in the center, family, body, mind, finance, society, and faith in the center, which archetype is missing from each domain? Right? When we look at your finance, who's the governing archetype in your finance area? Typically, it's the warrior. You might say it's the sovereign or think it's the sovereign. It's the warrior because you got to fight. I got to go get one more. I got to go do one more. I have to go do 3 presentations. I got to talk to 50 people. That's your doing. That is your archetype. That is the warrior archetype of fight, fight, fight. What would your magician say in your finances? I create the formula of magical income that comes effortlessly to me. Poof. I'm serious. Your words have so much power. And when you start to hear these things, there's a part of you that says, oh, well, that just sounds goofy. Who said that? Which version of you said that? It's your disempowered versions of a variety of your archetypes. It's the one that doesn't want you to win. There's 2 ways to have the tallest building in town, right? Build yours bigger or tear everybody else's down. Let me ask you this. When you go to sleep at night, are you tired? I mean, not like a beach tired or, oh my God, I'm so relaxed. You're just tired of a lot of things. And then you wake up and you don't want to really jump out of bed because you're just tired. That's your disempowered energies. If you realize that what had to happen in order for us to wake up this morning, for us to come out of the self-induced coma, if you got some sleep, to know that the sun is where it is and we're spinning where we are and the moon is where it is and Jupiter's where it's supposed to be and Mars is where it's supposed to be and the universe is operating under a set of laws that we don't have to worry about because they are unchangeable and infallible. How wouldn't you be excited to know that there's another day? And if you're not, your archetypes, the empowered version of your archetypes are absolutely 100% not engaged. It's just that simple. If you feel burned out in business, you're likely overusing your warrior and underusing your lover and magician. So trigger reconnection. Make sure you connect with them on a regular basis. Who's running the show right now? Who's listening right now? Who's listening? Which archetype is listening to me? Right? You have 16 versions, 4 versions for each, 4 archetypes. You have a potential of 16 personalities listening to me right now. And if you're doing other things, if you're checking email while you're listening to me, if you're scanning or checking your phone or looking at Instagram or checking other things and go, I can listen to this and do this. If that is your disempowered version. You are avoiding your own truth. Not me. You're not listening to me. You're not listening to you. Pretty simple. So the 4 aren't meant to be a balanced energy. And what I mean by that is you don't use all of them at the same time. You don't use them equally. Just like your personalities. You have 4 personality traits. You have 4 personality energies, but they're to be used in harmony. They're to be used like an orchestra, to use it like a symphony. And you're the conductor of these archetypes. And if you're not waving the wand, if you're not ruling the day will rule you. It's important to remember your design. And what I mean by remember your design is remember this version of you, that there's a dominant version of you. I believe that my dominant version is the lover. I believe that. I operate from a very powerful, strong, empowered lover. I don't want my warrior to kick in because I lived in warrior for a long time and I got pretty darn good as a warrior. I vicious as a warrior, ruthless as a warrior, which is why I probably tip the scale heavily towards the lover. Now we sit down and we talk business. My sovereign shows up. You're like, I didn't know you knew all this about business. No, because I operate pretty much from my empowered lover. And my lover's pretty smart too. My sovereign kind of knows how to run the kingdom, right? And my magician has been activated in the last 2 decades to come up with solutions, to be able to hear things, to be able to connect to the ether, to hear thoughts in your head. That's my magician that does that. But typically, I operate out of the lover. And I know that. There's some days if I'm going to go do consulting, I need to have the morning conversation. And because I get to go hang around people, which I love to do, and meet new people, which I love to do, I need to do it from a sense of archetype and warrior. Because they already, whenever I sit down and have a conversation with somebody, I bring along my archetypes, all of them, and I have them sit and we have an agreement. Do you have an agreement with your archetypes? My conscious self, my aware of me, is very limited because I only have my experience. The awareness that my archetypes have, connected to the thinking substance, the universal sources, can allow me to hear new ideas, new thoughts, new ways. Because a lot of times, right, when you go to have a sit down with people, they're pretty convinced of who they are. And the fact that they're being put on the spot, regardless of how you think the meeting is going to go, if you're going to offer anything, offer, not even sell, hopefully you will sell. Zig Ziglar said sales is a transference of enthusiasm. You're going to offer them something, and in offering them something, they have to agree they don't already have it. If your warrior is offering them something, there's a good chance their warrior is going to magically and instantly refuse it because it's a fight. What might you be able to do to allow your sovereign to speak to their sovereign? Who are you going to have a conversation with in their world? Do you know how to activate the sovereign? Because you're pretty good. We're all pretty good at activating people's warriors. Do you have enough time? If they have to say no to anything, you've activated their warrior, which is why I believe that if there's a philosophy, go for no, that's saying go for warrior. And most people's warriors, when it comes to sales or selling themselves, is about the size of a peanut, and they have no fight. They can't hack it. They can't stay in the game to sell themselves. So what would you do to activate their warrior? I mean, we know how to easily activate their warrior, to activate their sovereign, to activate their magician. Birds of a feather do flock together. So can you allow your magician? And magician is when you create visualization. When you visualize, when people say, I can't visualize, they can't activate their magician. But yet they can tell me all of the things that they see in the future that aren't going to go right. That's still visualization. That's still magical in nature to be able to predict what's going to go wrong. Why not predict what's going to go right? So I leave you with that. When you're going to have a conversation today, who do you want to speak to? And if you want to not speak to the warriors of others, what would you do? What would you need to do without them knowing? And I don't mean manipulative. What I'm saying is, you don't need to explain to them, I think you're talking to me in warrior information. They ain't going to know that. They're not going to understand that. But you could recognize it, right? Much like you recognize people with accents. You tell somebody, oh, I like your accent. They go, I don't think I have an accent. They don't, because that's the word they sound all the time. They go, you have an accent. Well, the same thing happens when we talk to people. I think I'm talking to your warrior. You're not talking to my warrior. They don't know that it's their warrior because they've been in it for so long. Does that make sense? So that's the recap for the archetypes. Tomorrow, we're going to have a conversation about what it truly takes to build confidence, to be of a confident nature, to be able to exude confidence, to be able to help somebody understand that when they sit down with you, when they have a conversation with you, that you got your stuff together. So there you go. What'd you learn? What'd you like from this week of the archetypes? Good morning, everybody. Questions, comments, thoughts? Y'all send a little extra love and joy over to Diane today. She has some fascinating, fun things she's going to do today. Just send her some love and joy.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Oh, again in the car. Outstanding.
Again in the car.
Love it.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you for again this morning, for all week, for everything. I learned that I have, although I've had a little bit of knowledge, scratch the surface knowledge of the archetypes, it's hit differently this week. And it, just as you were talking about identifying, someone's talking from their warrior, I'm thinking about all the clients that I've sat with this week and thinking about different interactions of, okay, well, yeah, this was their lover or not their lover. This was their warrior that was coming out. Um, this might have been somebody's sovereign, but I'm not really sure about that. So it's going to be interesting, and I'm going to say fun because I'm going to gamify it, identifying who is the archetype that I'm talking to with every interaction.
So give me a condition that most people would come to you for. Not specific, but meaning they need to, it's weight or it's energy or it's toxic or whatever. What's a typical reason people come to you?
Mm-hmm.
Let's gamify it.
Yeah, toxicity.
Okay. What's the problem with toxicity?
Well, it impacts everything.
Okay.
It impacts their ability to sleep, so obviously their energy levels, their their body's ability to assimilate nutrients. That it's everything.
Okay. So how long can you be toxic and not know it?
Absolutely.
And if you become aware of it, what's had to happen for the toxicity to make you vulnerable, to make you less than you when you realize I need help about my toxicness? What's happened in the body? What's happened in the person?
They are not who they used to be.
And do they know that?
Yes.
And what do they base that on?
The way they feel overall,
Okay.
people's interactions with them.
So which archetype do you think gets hurt the most in toxicity?
Well, it's had an impact on all of them, but I am going to say, um, I mean, it's going to affect a sovereign's ability to make good decisions.
Okay. In order for them to agree to fix themselves, who has to activate? The lover.
A lover, yeah.
And
Yeah.
especially if so, have you seen over your 30 years of working with people, are women are more agreeable with healing than men?
No,
So what if it's now, if you look at it and based upon that, the sovereign heals the man and the warrior fights the healing in the woman?
that makes so much sense.
So why does the warrior avoid the healing? Because they don't know how to use their lover. Women. We think women are all lovey and dovey, fluffy and kittens and polka dots. If you've ever worked in a restaurant, if you've ever worked in food and beverage, I would rather lay down and let 16 horses kick me than get in a back room with 13 waitresses who are pissed off at the manager.
Wow.
Women can be vicious when in a group of viciousness. So when they show up toxic, do you know how hard it is to not be a lover and be a woman? Because society says you're supposed to be a lover. I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, and I'm Ajali, I'm a woman, right? Remember the commercial?
Yes.
And today, you're supposed to be a boss babe, boss bitch, all of these things, and blah, 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 and still look sexy and do the work. I can show up like this and not be thought any less of because I can speak my way out of well, he's just a goofy looking farm boy. Right? Y'all won't show up on camera if you don't have your makeup on. Sometimes. But when you become comfortable and you realize what this community is about, you're like, I'll show up as a hot mess. And there's some people only show up as a hot mess because that's how they get to own themselves, right? So
Wow.
what would happen if you started to realize that 90% of the females that you're going to have a conversation with, you're having a conversation with the shadow, the disempowered lover who's given authority to the warrior?
Yes, I see that. In reflecting on conversations, I
Yep.
see that pattern.
So now what would you do now that you know this? How do you activate the sovereign who's not even in the conversation, not even in the room? How do you activate the sovereign to bring forth the lover? How do you activate the magician? Because here's the other thing. You speak to the sovereign. This is what's called buyer's remorse. You speak to the sovereign. You get the sovereign of the female to activate the queen. This makes sense. Yes, I do need to take care of my family. I do need to do this. And they get home and the warrior is 9 foot tall and going, where the hell have you been? And the lover tries to step in saying, yeah, but I wanted to be able to take care of you. You have the skills to deal with this complexity. You're just realizing, holy smackanoli. You've just accessed the inner sanctum of understanding human nature as it relates to your business. Yes or yes?
Yes,
It's almost overwhelming, isn't it?
it really is. I'm sitting here starting to sweat thinking, you know, um, do how do I approach this? So, I'm going to the how. I'm
Sure,
going to the
absolutely.
strategy part of
So
it.
who would you need to activate to help you access this?
I'm going to go right back to my default gatekeeper, who is eternity.
So do you think eternity has the answers?
Without a doubt.
So then who kept eternity from showing up? Now, because you've used eternity, you've come up with things for the gentleman you do the seed work for and the crop work for, and you're like, oh wow, I got this figured out, and magic came, right? Or you've worked with people and you said, I think we're gonna skip the foot bath today and we're gonna do this. And they're like, oh, what? You're like, yep, that was it, right? You get these clues. So who do you need to activate to make this all seem to work better? Understand eternal. And so what is eternal saying that you might want to operate from?
Oh, well, that's
Hi, good morning.
yeah. Would be that would be Alana, the
Yeah.
lover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you get into your world, you love what you do, but there's a part of you, little Missy, that doesn't believe that you should love what you're doing, because if you did, that would change everything about you. I know you love what you do, but there's a difference between loving what you do and loving the reason you do it. The reason you do it is to create money. That's not why you do it. That's the result of why you do it. And the reason the money struggles is because you're not allowing yourself to absolutely love it with absolute joy and peace and happiness, and the value comes to it. The only reason your price isn't $5,000 for your 8-week seminar is because of the love for you.
Oh,
I want to make sure they're okay. How are they not going to be okay in your place, in your energy, in your space? How is it possible? Is there any cell in your body that says when they come here, I'm gonna F them up?
No.
No. Maybe people are gonna
Oh,
show up for a retreat.
poking my eyes this morning.
And you drove for this.
I did. I drove for this.
I paid a cover charge to get in here. What the hell?
Oh, it's all amazing, miraculous stuff.
Who do you think sits in front of your rife machine? If I'm even know, is that the one where they set this in here and over here and it goes and creates the stuff? What is that?
Yeah, it's a Nova light.
Nova Light.
Yeah, but it has rife frequencies with it.
Okay.
Yes, you're
So
right.
look at that. Look how genius. I
You
sound.
are.
Who do you think operates that?
Oh, Andromeda, my magician.
Do you see how fast you switch into these archetypes and you weren't consciously aware? Now imagine if you were consciously aware.
It's going to make all the difference.
And what if before you even put the stuff in, Andromeda said, ooh, we need a little more of this and that. And you're like, oh, that would make so much sense. Imagine your and this is for all of you. Imagine your archetypes walking around with a blindfold and a gag. You've bumped into them, they've bumped into you, and I just got an idea. Imagine if you took the gag out of their mouth and let them speak to you energetically. And imagine if you took their blindfolds off so they could see you and they could help you. One of the greatest gifts you'll ever learn for yourself is the ability to say, hey, listen, I could use some help. We don't ask for help. And we think we have to struggle in order for any solution to be valid. We get wired that way. I'm not saying you don't, there's not going to be effort. You're not going to sweat, but I can promise you, row your boat gently down the stream will be the greatest gift you ever give yourself. And you will see more, do more, have more, become more in the flowing, because now you get to energetically engage in your life. What are you feeling?
Oh, it's beautiful. I have had so many visuals as you were talking about, my archetypes just kind of bumbling around with blindfolds and and gags and walking into walls and bumping their heads in corners and different things.
Actually what we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to go activate it. We did this 6 months ago, 7 months ago, where we activated the switches. We actually turned their
Oh,
power on.
yes.
We're gonna do that tomorrow. We're gonna go fully
Oh,
activate the archetype.
not the confidence thing. Please do
Oh,
the confidence thing. Please, at
okay.
some
I'll do
point,
confidence.
please.
I'll do
Well,
confidence.
I mean, switching these on is great, but I was like, when you said the confidence part, I
Okay.
was like,
Yep. The 5
oh,
elements of confidence. We'll do that. Okay.
um, oh, another visual that I had was just sitting in the canoe, going down and being able to enjoy the scenery and
If
not
we think
having
if
to
we
work
think
so
all
hard
the people
paddling.
if we think all the people we need to serve are upstream, is there no one downstream?
Well, I think there's plenty downstream.
So wouldn't that be easier to just guide the canoe over to the edge, let them get in, and help them get out where they would need to get out? Doesn't everybody want to go
Yes.
down the river, get into the flow?
Well, if they don't want to, they should.
Well, they won't get in the canoe.
Yeah.
If you command your archetype, your energies, and say, I communicate and bring people into my life who are ready for me, willing for me, and are able for me. See, there's a lot of people who are ready for you, but they ain't willing or able. There's a lot of people who are able for you, but they ain't ready or willing. And there's a lot of people who are willing, but they're not ready or able. You need all three: ready, willing, and able. And when you put that frequency into the universe, and when I say ready, willing, and able, the able part is I'm able to learn from them too. It doesn't always have to be student-teacher relationship. I can be student and they be the teacher, which is why I always say I sign off my emails, your friend and student. I had a mentor one time say to me, if you're supposed to be teaching them, which was the last day they were my mentor, by the way, if you're supposed to be teaching them, how are you their student? Well, you're an idiot. Thank you for being part of my life to teach me that. Everybody is your teacher. If you're here to serve, your goal is to serve them better. They are the only ones that can teach you how to serve them better. Otherwise, it's a philosophy of the beatings will continue to morale improves.
Bonus.
Words do not teach, period, and full stop, and the telegram. Words do not teach. You cannot teach anyone. You can only offer them an opportunity to find the vibration they will best be served in to step into their next level. The challenge is that most people teach to stay where you are.
Wow.
Isn't that what, nothing against doctors, but isn't that what doctors do? Teach them to stay where they are. Take this, you'll stay there.
Yes.
It's called false wellness.
Let's manage the condition.
Yep. Stay where you are.
Yeah.
Right? Like that Simpson clip that they talked about 20 years ago. I don't know whether the Simpsons were time travelers or what. But you found the cure for cancer. Why aren't you publishing it? Why would I want to cure them for cancer when I can find their symptom and treat them every day? Why would I want to cure them? Why would I want to treat them once? Why would I want to fix poverty when I can keep people in poverty and keep them in control and control their mind and control their results and control what they eat? Can you imagine having a job at one of the chip factories where your job as the marketing director is to get everybody who's your customer to gain 10 pounds this year? That's how if we can get our clients to gain 10 pounds this year, we'll have millions of dollars of profit. I don't know that that's a good philosophy.
No, it's evil.
Yeah, well, it's something. And so now you get to be somebody who throws a wrench in that works by helping people fall in love with their lover, when they come to you, it's the sovereign that showed up. You ever have somebody sit down with you and go, I'm not even sure why I'm here?
Yes.
And the reason they said that is because at the moment of the dialogue, a moment of the arrival, their sovereign got kicked out of the room. The sovereign drove them there. The sovereign drove you there. Your disciplined warrior drove you there. Sovereign made the decision and said, the warrior, you got to get me out of bed. You got to get me going. Listen, the things again. Another day I got to go to that. No, you didn't. You might have done that for a second, but you said, this is good stuff. I got to go. And
Yes.
Here's the thing. If I had the crappy day, you'd have still found something good because you're like, I'm going to make this worth my while. Even if I sucked, you'd have found something good. There's a good chance you felt pretty confident that I won't suck today. There's a chance I could have.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever experienced you sucking. So there's that.
Well, that's evidence, right? I've not been disappointed in the past, and it's worth it. Is it worth my time to go hear what Sean has to say and what he's going to activate in me and what I'm going to allow to be activated.
Without a doubt.
And so if that's the case, then how do you transform that energy into you so that everybody, every time they call you, why is it that what would cause people to want to repeat again and again and again and again? Which archetype is the repeating archetype they want to hang around? Not just the doer.
I mean, it could be the magician and the lover combination.
Maybe it's the sovereign, the one who
And the
says,
sovereign.
right? The
Yeah.
one who can help them. Listen, I have conversations with moms a lot who have little kids. And the challenge is when the child grows up, especially if it's a single mom, as the child begins to grow, the mom begins to lose her identity. The
Yes.
child starts to take on its own personality, right? So we have a conversation, and literally the way that we calm the mom's fears is by realizing that the child can never leave her kingdom. She can always start her own kingdom. And you, as the sovereign of sovereigns, the queen mother bee of this kingdom world, you can get to help influence her kingdom. She can never leave you. She does have to start her own kingdom. So wouldn't it make sense for us as a mom to be able to understand our archetypes, because our warrior is 900 foot tall when it comes to our kids? Can we allow, as Jordan Peterson says, allow them to do dangerous things as safely as possible? And that's extremely possible as long as they're in your kingdom. You are not governing their kingdom, and that's the challenge, is they feel they lose authority. You never lose authority over the kingdom. You become a resource to help their kingdom grow stronger. And what if you're now you can also create the healer archetype. What if they were allowed to take their archetype, your healer archetype, with them? How many of you say, oh my God, I wish I could just take you with me? So it's a Sean archetype. Oh my God, I heard you in my head. That's a Sean archetype. You have access to that. You all do. So what if your healer archetype went with them? What if you manifested and created and had a conversation between Andromeda and the lover and the warrior and say, I need you to craft the healer archetype. Where does it live? What's its move? What's its sound? What's their name? Now all of a sudden you have it. Imagine if you said to that archetype, when you look through your files, and every time you touched one of their files, your healer archetype went to them. You know how many phone calls you'd start to get?
Okay, there's another part of the game.
Just laying your hand on their file, because you remember it all. None of it's lost. You open up the file, go, oh, I remember this. You remembered it before you opened the file.
Yeah.
And so imagine waking up going, who needs me and doesn't know it? Who wants me and knows it? You've called people and they go, I've been thinking about you for the last couple of weeks. Really? Shocking.
Yeah.
That's all your archetypes. It's all your energy.
Or I've thought of people and here they call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'd stop that.
Oh, thank you, Sean.
You're welcome, Heather. I love it. Yeah.
What does your shirt say?
I think it says, okay, but first, Combo. It was a network marketing company.
Oh.
And one of their products was a combo, I think. If I'm thinking of the right company.
Have a great day, everyone.
Okay. Who else? Thoughts, comments, questions, takeaways? All righty, Aphrodite. Tomorrow we will do confidence and come prepared to be empowered to become more confident. Come prepared to realize maybe, just maybe, you haven't activated all of the areas of confidence that you could, and realize that when you go through this, you're going to learn to use it for good and not for not good. I'm your head brain training. Let's go find our archetypes misfit. I'll see y'all where?
The next event.
At the next event. Somebody give me some Costa Rica.
Pura
Pura
vida.
vida.
Vida. We love you, Mark. And some Lydia.
Peace be with us.
Be with us.
Be with us all. And the queen of helping you find your lover, warrior, magician, and sovereign, Jessie Lee Ward.
Boss
Bosley.
We love you, girl. And a little white fluffy floating around.
Gurgly, gurgly,
Gurgly.
gurgly.
Gurgly. All right. We love you all. See you all tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.
Peace, family.
Thank you.
I love you guys.